still have to see?
Yeah, Jeff is still in a progression, and today was a big part of that progression to see where he's at, and so it's not certain he would be in tomorrow, but the progression today looked good, and then he'll follow up with our medical and doctors to see where that leaves him. I have not spoken to him after practice, but today was a big day.
What can it do just for the group, Don, to get Jeff back, to be getting Greenway back? Jack plays his first game last night, just to finally get closer to being healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to be, healthy, and it is. It'll be nice to get those guys back. Skinner has a presence, obviously. Greenway has a presence, and Gergensen. So, it's a bonus when you get them back, and we look forward to having them back, and that helps obviously when you have healthier bodies.
These guys have shown that they can play. Anyone can kind of play each other at times, but I mean, there's been so much roster movements, lines and switch. How difficult is that for guys to handle? Just when there's no consistency with the lines.
Yeah, it's another obstacle. It's another challenge with, when you put Skinner out there today with Tuck and Thompson, and they're on the same page immediately with what they do up and down the rink because they played so long together. And obviously today was the first day with Jack Quinn back with Cousins and Peterka, and it's just that familiarity makes everything easier. So it is nice when you can do that, and it's this it's pro sports. You have lots of injuries, and you got to deal with it. And so, but when you have the continuity, it's a luxury.
What made JJ Dillon and Jack mesh so well last season?
They played with pace, which is something we need to do more of. We've talked a lot about compete, but we need to play at a better pace. We need to up the pace, and that's what they did. That was probably the most significance when you look at where we're at as a group right now, as a whole group. There are three guys, a trio, that played with a lot of pace up and down the rink, pressure without the puck, and lots of skill and speed with the puck on attack. And again, if I think about where we're at and our stumbles and whatnot, it's a lot of it is we need to play at a higher pace.
How important is it to get like these familiar groups back together, just to kind of to find that consistency again for everybody?
But on paper it should help, but we still have to do the work. So, and that's we've stood here lots of times talking about the need to compete better, and that's still the number one component. So, you get guys back, but you could say injuries are, injuries can't be an excuse for some of the play we've had. It just, we need to play with more, compete at certain times, and unequivocally for me, when I look at it and I watch our team with pace, with greater pace. If I compare where we were, you watch a game from last season and a game from this season, it's the pace. The pace is the difference. So, yes, getting guys back in the lineup, getting familiarity will help with the continuity, but that hasn't been the underlying problem. Playing with pace has been one of the big ones, obviously, and compete goes hand in hand with that. I think we compete better when we play with pace. We're more aggressive defensively when we play with pace, and we attack better on offense. And we need to do that. We had practice today, and there were 3 drills we hadn't done. I don't know if we'd done them this year, and with focus on different things. And that was nice to have the practice, and nice to be able to put those in.
With that being said, are you surprised you didn't get more of a lift from Darlene's goal? Because that certainly was a pace goal. I mean, Casey causes the turnover, and you guys get going fast. Darlene's like you shot out of a cannon. I mean, are you surprised you didn't get more of a jump from that goal with the way you scored it?
Well, it certainly did look like it was. It was attack. It was pace. Everything you said, and then it fell off immediately. We had the first 2 shots of the game, and then I don't think they had the next dozen plus, and that the barometer, we all know that the barometer, especially with our group, is the shot clock. When we're not willing to shoot a puck, we're trying to be too fancy, and we're not playing aggressive enough, period. When you look at where our shot count is high, we're willing to shoot almost because we're willing to go get it. And we're not willing to go get it. Maybe your legs are a certain way or you feel a certain way and you try to overhandle it and stick handle it. You don't want to give it up because you don't want to go get it. You don't want to track your shot. You don't want to chip it in. So that shot clock for me is a real barometer with our group, and it has been. And I thought, we come out of the gate and we fly. We get to the net right away. And then maybe we thought it was going to be a little easier and hung on to the puck a little too long, passed it, and didn't have an attack mentality. And we end up on the other side of that.
Don, how do you cut down the odd mans? I mean, you're at that 6-7 a night range, and it's certainly not a recipe for success, but is it guys overplaying things? Is it guys hesitating? How do you get that number?
I think different nights it's different. Last night odd mans were breakdowns. Sometimes you look at odd mans, and if you're pulling analytics off of a computer, it's really we go through them, and you've got to look at contested. Sometimes they count an odd man when you enter the zone, but there's back pressure, and it's not an odd man by the time it gets to the net. So it's tricky on that. But when you're talking the blatant, the stuff last night, there were numerous. I don't know how many odd mans we had last night, Mike. Do you on the count?
Too many.
Yeah, well, it's always too many. There's always too many. You're right on that. But point being, I'd have to look at them. On certain nights, when you're pressuring pucks well, and you give up what's an odd man, it's contested. It's under pressure. There's a stick on a puck. It's an easier read for the goaltender than say a breakaway, obviously, on the extreme end. So some of those contested and under pressure are fine. Because when you force that shot and it rims out, you're in pace and it's a transition the other way. I mean, think of overtime when there's a chance at one end, you're overextended and there's always a chance at the other end. And if you can play that situation right and actually be good at that, you're going to get a better odd man the other way, an uncontested odd man per se. So, you got to look at it, And I can tell you, last night the odd mans were not good. Period. There's other nights where you're forcing shots quicker and contested shots, and you're getting the puck back on a quicker transition with less defense against you because of it. So, but again, it goes right with our compete and pace, and when you have it, those aren't really a concern. You make up the difference and then some. When you don't have your game and you're giving them up, they're usually pretty bad.
How much easier is it to move past last night when the next game is tomorrow and it's the Leafs? It's not random team from the West. I mean, you're going to have, I assume, their attention 100% with the Leafs count.
Yeah, and I can tell you, it's not easy to move past night when you add the sleep count. When you add that in, it's a tough one to move past. But you're right. You have your next opponent is a rival, and it's right down the road, and a hell of a hockey team. So you got to snap to it. There's instant urgency there. So every game in this league is a challenge and tough. The team we played last night, we didn't respect well enough. The game before, they were up 5-0 on Toronto, and we knew that going into the game. That they're a very, very capable team, and obviously Toronto, you know in the back of your mind they're a very capable team. You probably don't take them lightly, and certainly hope we don't, and I don't think we will.
Well, what have you and the staff seen from the Dahlin Samuelsson pair, the Power Jokiharju, to keep them together? Because I'm just asking because there were some really encouraging signs when Samuelsson was with Power and Dahlin was with Jokiharju.
Yeah, and things will change, Lance. That's what I can tell you right now. We're when you look at last night, and you look at where we're at, there's need for changes. So we will be changing things.
What are important things to do, or the importance on days in between games, like we have here? Obviously, you just had what happened last night. Toronto's coming up, but maybe just in more of a general sense, of these days in between getting ready and keeping messaging and keeping the guys together, can you take us through what today was like in terms of the team?
Sure, you have, I think they all know what last night was. And they're all disappointed, so to turn our focus today, we're looking at, as I mentioned quite a bit in this talk here, or this meeting here, is pace. So we looked at clips of us playing high pace, high tempo hockey as a comparison to situations where we didn't. So you have a vision of where you want to go and greater clarity on where you want to go. Obviously, you're balancing with 1 day in between games, soreness and lactic acid buildup from last night. How long do you practice? And, so you don't break a threshold of fatigue to get ready for tomorrow, so you're fresh tomorrow. So you factor that in, and then you hit guys individually one-on-one with certain areas that they may have struggled last night. And that's the follow-up now. It's probably what prevents me from getting in here real quick is squeezing some of those in. And you have conversations on the ice one-on-one with guys and pinpoint them that, this coach is going to grab them and that coach is going to grab them. And, but as a collective group, we had about a 25-minute meeting, I'd say, this morning, and plenty of video and a vision of what we need to do compared to what we look like where we weren't doing it.
How much do you let, after a game like last night, impact the messaging or change it? Because you want to be consistent, obviously you want the messaging and everything within the organization, you want to, you have your plan. But it was a pretty drastic game last night that everybody's thinking about. You say lost sleep, and how do you balance that?
I'm sorry, balance it with what?
Knowing that you want to remain consistent, but not making a big adjustment, or,
Yeah,
throw it out, or do we want to look at it extra hard?
Yeah, it's there's urgency to move on, and that's the balance. I think they, you've talked to guys. They understand. They're not happy with their play last night, and they know it, and they internalize that, and so you factor that in as a component when you don't want to dump and overload and dwell on last night. You can't, but there's constructive stuff for use getting ready for the next game and for use of getting us to play better to our identity, which is pace. Yeah, that exciting brand of pace of hockey, that enthusiastic up and down the rink. So for consistency reasons, we're matching that game last night up against that and saying this is, we're not playing to our identity. And you could, for consistency also, where can we compete harder? Can we win that battle? So those would be the two consistent things for me when you're looking at last night and gearing up toward the next night. How are we going to play to our identity with greater pace and greater compete? And what did we look like, most recent? If that brings a little clarity, I guess, Tim. Yeah. Yeah.